What's up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time. I cannot say that with a straight face. Matt and I talked about doing this. I could not possibly get through that with a straight face. But welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, and Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. We have a great episode planned for you all today as we go over our predictions for the NFL Honors Awards. And I don't know if we're going to do it like predictions or just who we think will win. I think that might be a little bit of a different conversation that we have. And then we'll probably talk about the Pro Bowl, maybe the Senior Bowl, and then talk a little bit about some of the NBA trades. Should be kind of a low-key episode, but we have a decent amount of stuff to talk about. But before we get into all that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. We talked yesterday about how, Nicki Minaj has Barbs, right? That's like her fan base's name. So
yeah,
does Stay Hot need something?
Hotties.
What's up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode
I like
of Stay
it.
Hot.
I think that could stick. I had a dream about the podcast. I had a dream about the podcast. Yes, it was a crazy dream because people have asked us to get Wee Hoopin' as a guest on the podcast for a while now. And I had a dream that we did. That was the dream. But he wasn't just a guest. We were going to Atlanta to like film something, and he was also going to be there. He was a main character in this dream. And your guys' flights got delayed, and I was in the Atlanta airport, and it was just me and this guy, Wee Hoopin'. It was just us two. And when I got there, he was like ungodly short. Like he was like 3 or 4 feet tall. I was like, oh my God, I never realized he was this short. And I was like we were only there for a day. So like the only place we could like film content was the airport, because that was like the only availability that we had. So like over this layover flight in Atlanta, there was like no one else here because it was like the middle of the night. I was trying to figure out how to like make a video with the guy, but I was trying to get the angle right that didn't make him like expose him as being like 3 feet tall. So I was like trying to like make stuff like really far away. And then I was like, what am I doing? What is this? And then I woke up. That was the dream that I had the other night about trying to make content for the podcast with a 3 feet tall Wee Hoopin'.
You know, a lot of people say that like dreams mean something in particular. They have some like greater meaning. What do you think that dream meant? What was a real world application?
Something I think that him being small symbolizes the illusion of fame, and how in real life you're not as big as your ego may lead you to believe you are, because when the mask comes off, you're really not a big deal. I think that's what that symbolized. But I am a big deal. I was still a normal size.
I was even taller in the dream.
I was even taller in this dream.
The Stay Out podcast is
6'4",
actually huge,
by the way.
but everyone else tiny. That is the real life implication.
We are the only important podcast, is the application of the dream. Anyway, I thought that was just a funny story.
That is funny. I did not dream about the podcast. I dreamt that I had to like rush to play Purple Haze. Because I keep having to play Purple Haze.
Okay,
but as always, like so much less eventful than
your normal day.
My normal day playing Purple Haze. But as always, everyone, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Per usual, I am begging you to subscribe. I know it's not my birthday anymore, but please still subscribe to the YouTube channel. It would mean a lot to me.
It's my birthday today, guys, so you have to do it for me.
And next week is going to be mine.
And next week is Matt's birthday.
So
keep subscribing for all of our birthdays.
Exactly. That is how we do this here. But let's just hop into the closest thing we have to football right now, is we're a week away from the Super Bowl. NFL honors. Do we want to just go award by award, who we think should win, or do we want to do who we think will win?
Honestly, my NFL award takes are probably not that hot.
Mine are also not that hot, and I also did a video about this on YouTube, so you're a snake if you're listening to this and already don't know my awards picks. So
I don't know.
I would probably default to you guys for this section, because I don't know if I've heard yours for everything. But I think that ours are all probably pretty similar.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I assume we're all going to agree that Aaron Rodgers is the MVP.
I do not think that is a given. I think Brady has like a pretty strong argument.
Okay,
he does have a strong
argument. Would you give it to Brady? Would you?
I don't know. I think I could be convinced one way or the other.
Oh man.
Because I mean, like, okay, the problem is that like both teams would be terrible if you took away their like top 5 starting quarterback, you know? And yeah, Brady maybe has a little bit more help, but he also maybe had a little bit better like counting stats. I haven't really looked at that too hard. And
he did.
Tampa was still, you know, they were still really good this year. I guess Rodgers was the 1 seed and the Packers were banged up, and maybe that's why you go Rodgers. But I think if you switched Brady and Rodgers, I don't know how different of results the teams would get.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say this is the argument for Rodgers. I think he was more efficient at all levels of the field. I mean, deep down the field, he was really good. In the intermediate range, short range, doesn't matter where. And I do think, like, with a backup offensive line, Bakhtiari missing the whole year, Adams was missing for some games, and they won those games. Yeah. Tunyon got hurt. His starting tight end was gone for most of it. So I think the backup offensive line and just less, like, in case of a tie, which is kind of the case here, I kind of lean towards Rodgers just because he was better at all areas of the field, and the team was a little bit worse. But with Brady, you can say all the counting stats are better, and he threw the ball more, which efficiency stats get a little bit questionable in an MVP argument, because if you throw the ball more, that just makes you more important. Like, it's not something to take away. So even though Rodgers had better efficiency stats, Brady was right there. And also Brady had a lot of tipped picks and dropped picks that were like accurate balls that ended up getting picked.
That was one thing I was looking at earlier, was like, I was looking at Justin Herbert. Like the Chargers, you know, they led the league in drops. But I noticed that Tampa Bay was up there.
Right.
And that was kind of surprising. I like totally didn't realize that they just had
so his efficiency and counting stats, if it wasn't for the picks, may have been better than Rodgers. All right. If it wasn't for picks that weren't his fault. And that's a pretty convincing argument for Brady. Like, okay, if you're better statistically. So yeah, I'm not mad at whoever wins that award, honestly. I think Brady and Rodgers.
Do you think Brady retiring helps his case?
I don't know when the voting happens. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if the voting has happened before they submitted their picks, I think it can only help them.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt him, that's for sure.
It also doesn't help that, you know, the Packers didn't win a playoff game, even though that's not supposed to count. I have a hard time believing that the voters just completely ignore that narrative. I do think Rodgers will win it, and I would say maybe give the slight edge to him. But Brady is so close, and there's so many guys where it's like you could put them in their shoes. Maybe not a ton, but there's a decent amount of guys you can put in their shoes, and I think they'd have an MVP level season too. You know, like Allen could be in there.
Yeah. Allen honestly Allen didn't make a Pro Bowl, and I think Allen has a decent, like, being the top rushing threat and the top passing threat on his team.
Yeah.
I think that he's got a decent argument as well. And
but there's probably 6-7 quarterbacks that if you threw on a team that had a great offensive line and great receivers would put up really great counting stats.
This is going to be a pretty diverse. I think Kupp is going to get some votes from some people. I really do. I think Burrow is going to get. I
don't blame anybody for going Kupp. I don't think that's.
I'm not saying unironically, I would probably vote for Kupp.
In the spirit of that, it should be most outstanding player, and just the ridiculous stats that he's had this year.
Triple crown, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's so hard to get.
In the spirit of just like kind of ignoring the V part of MVP and just like voting for the player you think had the best season. Again, Kupp votes. I'm not saying that I would vote for Rodgers, but I'm saying like, if you vote for Kupp, I don't think it's a bad take. I think Burrow is going to get some votes. I think Burrow is going to get some votes. I think Brady's going to get some votes. I think Kupp is going to get some votes. I think Rodgers is going to get some votes. I think reporters are going to not vote for Rodgers because of his vaccination status. I think that is something that I think reporters tend to be pretty like neoliberal. All right. And I think that's really going to grind their gears is Rodgers' vaccination status. I think that's going to play into, there was the one guy who said it publicly. I think there's a lot more reporters who are. If
I was a reporter and I felt that way, I would definitely not say it.
Because there's a lot of other valid people to vote for. So if you just like hated what Rodgers did this year and you want to vote for Brady, again, it's not a bad take to vote for Brady. So although Brady probably has some political.
So who do you think will win? I'm kind of leaning that Brady, dude, the narratives it's super close, and the narratives with Brady retiring and all the stuff that's happened with Rodgers probably lean in Brady's favor, but it does kind of feel, I don't know what the Vegas odds for it are, but
it's got to be pretty heavily in Rodgers' favor. Now it
is really heavy in Rodgers' favor. Rodgers is minus 400, Brady's plus 5.
Plus 500. I would say like the fact that Rodgers got first team all pro over Brady is like, I don't know if enough has changed for voters to like switch that around, but who knows? I mean, a lot has happened that playoff game and Brady retiring. So some narrative ball could come into play, but I personally would vote Rodgers. I think Rodgers will win, but that doesn't mean other takes aren't very valid.
Yeah. I think Rodgers would win. I would really like to see Cooper Kupp get some votes, just for the spirit of things, but I don't know. Speaking of Cooper Kupp, and Jonathan Taylor, really, kind of the top 2 candidates for Offensive Player of the Year.
I'm going Cooper Kupp for Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah. I think he's just had numbers too good. And I get the Jonathan Taylor argument, and I get it. I do.
Jonathan Taylor, I think, was probably more valuable to the Colts' success this year, but Cooper Kupp was just so outrageously
I don't know. I don't even think that it's valid to vote for Jonathan Taylor here. I think it's pretty unanimously Cooper Kupp. Like, I don't even get it if you think Jonathan Taylor had a better running back
Taylor
season.
Had a great season, but I think making the more valuable to their team argument for a running back is
dicey,
pretty tough. And even then, I get the idea. But it's also this is not the MVP. We're not taking into account value. We don't have to. And if we don't have to, we're not going to because it makes it lame. Cooper Kupp had a triple crown. He almost broke the receiving yards record. This doesn't matter, but he's on a team in the Super Bowl. It's like, I think this is a layup. He's had the stats are just too legendary. He's been too big a part of that offense. And there's a lot of narrative. I don't know.
Like
I think Cooper Kupp's still underrated.
The odds are split. They're like it's literally a toss up in Vegas, but I could see this going unanimous.
There's no way that is true.
I'm looking at Vegas Insider
everything
right now.
I own on Cooper Kupp if that is the case.
January 25th, 2022, they are both minus 110.
Damn, that is free money to bet on Kupp there, I think. That is absolutely free money.
I almost never think that the awards are... They're almost never close, I feel like. It's almost always going into the awards, I know exactly who's going to win. Like, the favorites almost always win going into it, so I think it's interesting that this one's that close. And you also have to keep in mind that, I guess this is true for Cooper Kupp because he needs a quarterback and the offensive line, but a lot of the run game is also the Colts having a fantastic offensive line.
Godly offensive line.
Taylor's been crazy. He had a lot of great runs. He's a great running back, but... you can't not reward a season like this, I don't think.
Yeah.
Kupp season. I agree. I think really Kupp will win it pretty easily. Defensive Player of the Year.
That's a little tricky. I think it's a little tricky.
It sort of is, but it's sort of not. Like, again.
Watt did tie the record. So it's like.
Yeah. No, he's going to win because he tied the sack record, and that's just too big of a record not to reward. And he didn't do it in 17 games. He did it in 15 games. It's just in the future, I don't understand how you can, like, when people look back at this season and they're like, oh my God, Watt had whatever, 23 and a half sacks in 15 games. He tied this prestigious record that people are still trying to beat. Did he win Defensive Player of the Year? No. Like, how do you explain that? Well,
double team
chart said that. Like, no, who knows, dude? Who cares? Like, it is good for projecting future production, I think. But like, in terms of the award, like, does anyone here know what Michael Strahan's double team pass rush win rate was in 2003 or whenever he broke that record? I don't even know.
No.
Whenever he broke that record. No, it doesn't really matter. It's the sack record that it matters. All right. It's okay to like the counting stats are still like what makes a legendary season, I think.
Yeah.
And this was a legend. I mean, you with so many sacks in 15 games, like plus all the forced fumbles, showed out in prime time every time, like literally was winning games for the Steelers at the end of this year to get them in the playoffs. It's Watt, but this was a stacked year for defensive players, I think.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons had a great year.
He's my number 2, dude. I think Micah Parsons. He probably
should be, and he'll, if he doesn't win D-Roy, I mean, that would be a crime at that point.
That would be hilarious.
So, and then Myles Garrett had a great year. And then I thought at one point Myles Garrett was going to go for the sack record because he was making that push as well, just as well as Watt was. But moving on to the rookies, I think we want to talk about defensive rookie of the year. It should be Micah Parsons, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I mean, Pat Surtain had a good year, and he's going to be a good corner, but. God damn, Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons had a defensive player of the year caliber season. Like if Watt didn't break the record or tie the record or get this record, I would have voted for Micah Parsons. I really would have. I think that he was the most game changing threat on defense this whole year. Like just he wasn't the only thing that turned around that Cowboys defense, but he was the biggest thing that turned around.
What do
that
you
Cowboys
think
defense.
the Vegas odds for Micah Parsons to win Defensive Rookie of the Year are?
Minus 1 quintillion billion, probably.
Minus 10,000.
Yeah.
Minus 10,000. That's
Who's the
that's
third
free money.
Who is the other? Who are the other names?
The only other person is Pat Surtain at plus 500.
Plus 500. Yeah. Yeah, he'll win.
It's not close.
Hey, I love me some Pat Surtain though. All right.
So do I.
He's really good. In a non Micah year, he'd have a good case.
Well,
yes.
It's Micah's award, deserves it. But you can make an argument if J.C. Horn stays healthy.
If you look at the efficiency stats,
if you look, he only played 2.5 games. But in those 2.5 games, I question whether his impact.
I mean, really, if we want to talk about impact, we should be talking about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Oh, boy.
Who basically carried the Browns linebacking core all year long.
We should be talking about Packers' Eric Stokes, who is better than both of those guys. But no, Horn only allowed, one completion all year? Why is he not getting any hype for...
This is he didn't allow a touchdown all season.
Didn't allow a touchdown all season. Okay, I guess no one wants to give him any hype then. Weird.
Tough.
And then for offensive rookie of the year, why isn't anyone talking about Chuba Hubbard?
Look, Terrence Marshall Jr. had a great season, but was held back by Sam Darnold. If we're going to hold...
And the coaching staff for benching him. He has more talent than Jamar Chase, but sadly he
Trey
got
Lance's
benched.
first pass was a touchdown. Why aren't we talking about
Plus, he's a quarterback. He's more valuable.
He's more,
exactly. Instant. He was instantly better than Jimmy Garoppolo. What are we talking about here?
And then for offensive rookie of the year, just in general, I mean, you can make an argument for Creed Humphrey.
Could you?
But I'm not going to do it because I want Jamar Chase to win.
If you took Jamar, like I said in the last episode, if you could start your team with any player like that isn't a quarterback, I think Jamar Chase is a very valid pick there. I think, I mean, you could talk about, last year I think Justin Jefferson deserved it over Justin Herbert, as much as I love the guy, because Justin Jefferson had a top 3 season statistically last year, and Justin Herbert did not for a quarterback. So it's okay, Justin Jefferson had the better season. I don't think, and then Herbert won because he's a quarterback. And you kind of got the same thing about midway through the season where Mac Jones actually was the favorite over Jamar Chase, but Jamar Chase is more valuable to the Bengals than Mac Jones is to the Patriots. That is my take.
By far.
Yeah.
No, you're not. That's not even close.
You take Jamar Chase off the Bengals, I think their record is impacted more than if Mac Jones is never on the Patriots.
I don't think they're in the Super Bowl.
No, of course not. I don't even know if they make seriously, dude. I don't know where the explosives come from.
But you only got to drop a game or two for the Bengals. I mean, maybe one
miss
game,
the
right?
Playoffs.
I mean, the Steelers were
so it's not hard to make an argument. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about the Patriots. I don't think Mac Jones was bad or anything.
He wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. But
yeah, no, he had a more replaceable skill set than Jamar Chase did. I mean, I don't know where the explosive, and this whole Bengals offense is literally built on the go ball to Chase. So if you have Auden Tate out there instead, I mean, T. Higgins is good and all, but those guys aren't.
T. Higgins had a really good year.
He's really good. He's really good, but like they just aren't Chase, right? Like they just aren't Chase. So I think he was one of the more valuable players in football this year, point blank period, Jamar Chase.
Chase and Mac Jones have really close betting odds.
Which is hilarious.
minus 250 for Jamar, plus 200 for Mac Jones. So it's not like that.
You should get your vote taken away if you vote for Mac Jones. That's just an indefensible take, in my opinion. Just indefensible. Like how?
That's total. That's total. We're going to vote for the quarterback no matter what because they're the quarterback, and I got to vote for the quarterback. Like, I just hate that awards work like that, especially the Heisman. So bad.
It's bad, and it's like, in what world are you living in that Mac Jones had a better season than Jamar Chase? Like, if it is not unanimous, I want that. I want a MLA formatted like 5-page essay on the voter who voted for Mac Jones defending his pick because it would be that bad. Like, I need to see something that I'm missing.
Cite your sources. Like,
it can't have anything to do with positional value because who cares, dude? Anyway.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Jamar Chase.
Now, as far as comeback player of the year goes, there's a few options, but it'll probably go to Joe Burrow.
It will go to Joe Burrow. And it's valid. It is valid, especially with what he's done in the playoffs. Even though I think this... God, I got to stop.
I think he deserves it because his injury was worse than just like an ACL tear. It was really bad.
Yeah.
And when I remember at the start of the year, my big problem with the Bengals, the reason I didn't have them winning that many games, is that because I thought behind a bad offensive line, Joe Burrow, I mean, that's just mentally, that's really tough. And it was, we were talking about like, how can you get the ball out of his hands immediately? Because he's just going to be, I feel like a normal person would be really nervous back there. We've seen that happen to quarterbacks and it didn't happen to him. And he not only was able to come back and still be the same guy, but he improved. He made a jump in his second year. So even though maybe some part of that is because Jamar Chase and all that, he deserves it. I don't know if he had the worst injury because I'm sure there's someone else out there, but he did a great job coming back from a very tough injury when the team did not give him an offensive line that you would maybe want them to in this situation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree there. That's a good argument. I do not like taking the severity of the injury into account for these things because it's like I don't.
But we did last year with Alex Smith.
We did, but I don't think. I think that's a special case because his was
Alex Smith is so
bad.
Different.
But
I think you do. I think if we're talking about who made the best comeback, well, part of making a good comeback, I think, is from how far down you go. And I don't want it to be like just straight up a worst injury competition. I do get that. But then, like, is it anyone who had a bad injury? There's some sort of
true because this is why I don't like this award in general is because I think it's just weird definitions about like how bad their injuries were when it happened. Because with Nick Bosa, he got just a typical ACL tear, nothing major, just an ACL tear. But it happened like week 1, so I guess like of course he was going to come back. Or like week 2 he got hurt, so he had a long time. But I do agree with Burrow. I mean, I don't think that's a bad take at all. Part of the reason why I had them at so few wins is just because it seemed like such a recipe for disaster. Having this guy trying to rehab, like
that's what I'm saying. He was
really, I thought his career was in jeopardy. I really did think his career was in jeopardy behind that offensive line. Coming back from that kind of injury is like, is this going to even? I thought his career was at risk, and he obviously came in and had a huge season. So maybe I would change that pick to Burrow. Like now that I'm saying it out loud, but. As far as regular season goes, I do think Nick Bosa had a better edge year than Burrow did a quarterback year. And everyone's going to hate me for saying it. I know. But he really...
I don't think you're wrong for that.
If you put the equivalent of Nick Bosa's edge numbers at quarterback, it's absolutely like an MVP season. Like it is just a ridiculous season from Bosa with 15.5 sacks and the most tackles for loss in the league. And having the highest double team rate in football, if you look at the chart. So you got the counting stats, the efficiency, and all that coming back from the ACL tear. So like, I try to ignore, like, even though Alex Smith won it last year, because I mean, I saw a picture of his legs like during surgery, and it's like literally like looking like a health textbook, like with the skin peeled back, and you can look at all the bones and tendons and stuff. It was just so bad that you couldn't believe he came back. Like that to me shouldn't be the precedent, but I do get it with Burrow. I do get it with Bosa.
And don't get me wrong, like Burrow's going to win no matter what because he's a quarterback and because also Joe Burrow. But I really do think in this situation, being a quarterback made it tougher because you're behind an offense. So you have people coming at you. I guess, Bosa's also on the defensive line, which isn't exactly for the faint of heart. But if you wanted to make an argument for just straight up like worst injury, the most impressive comeback, maybe Cam Akers. I don't know if you can count that, but dude, he came back from an Achilles
in the season. That's
in
really
the season.
interesting.
That's gotta be the first time that's ever happened.
That's an interesting case. But
now he shouldn't. He didn't play the regular season.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can give it to him, but he does at least deserve.
Almost fumbled the game away against the Bucks.
Someone give him a vote. He needs a vote.
Give him a vote.
That is a crazy comeback.
Here's an interesting thing. I don't want Cowboys fans to get mad at us for not talking about Dak Prescott. He had 37 touchdowns and 10 interceptions this year.
Yeah, he had a great season.
And he also had if you're going by like his ankle was fucked.
I'm like, dude, shattered his ankle. The Cowboys were awful. He comes back and they win the division.
Yeah. So I'm still going Burrow.
Yeah, I agree that Dak is probably third in whatever pecking order you want to put, but he definitely deserves a shout out because his comeback was quite inspiring. Who is your vote for?
Well, here's the thing, right? Theo, how much do you like to make money?
On a scale of 1 to 10, like a 5.5.
Okay, that's not what I was going for, but I'm just saying. I know you're a gambling man.
Oh yes, I like being right more.
Dak Prescott's Vegas odds -140. Joe Burrow's Vegas odds
really
plus 110.
I think you are looking at the wrong odds. None of these make sense to me.
I would think that Burrow would be just again. I think he deserves it. And Dak has a really good argument too. But I would think that Burrow would have a huge advantage just from like the narrative ball. That's also on his side. And people just love Joe Burrow.
I mean, I'm looking at Vegas Insider. I don't.
Man, maybe I am underrating Dak and what he did. But
Nick Bosa's Vegas odds plus 6,500.
It's because he's not. He's going to have a hard time winning over a quarterback.
The ones I'm looking at is a tie between Dak and Joe Burrow at pretty much even odds. Negative.
I think I might bet Burrow there.
Yeah, I can't even
if they're tied.
But yeah.
I just looked up NFL awards odds, and the first one came up from January 25th, 2022, from Vegas Insider. Has that? Let's bring it on home. Coach of the year is it Mike Vrabel?
No, God no. I don't think so. I think
he's gonna win. He's gonna win it.
No, he's not. I have no idea who's gonna win this one. I don't think it's gonna be Vrabel. That's way off my radar.
I think it'd be Vrabel.
I don't think it's gonna be Vrabel. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be either. My votes would be either Belichick or LaFleur.
I would vote Belichick. But I think Vrabel's gonna win it.
You know who the top two
is? It Zach Taylor?
Zach Taylor's second, and Vrabel's first. Vrabel's pretty heavy favorite. He's -185.
Is he actually?
Yeah.
I kind of agree with LaFleur. I can't lie.
I don't even think Vrabel's
-185 Vrabel.
That
plus 250 Zach Taylor, plus 350 Matt LaFleur.
Well, Belichick's he was the 1 seed, and I think that's kind of the thing that people look at.
Yeah. They were the 1 seed. Derrick Henry was hurt. A.J. Brown missed a lot of time this year. Julio Jones missed time. Tannehill wasn't that good. He's going to He's gonna win it.
I see it. Yeah,
it might be unanimous.
And it's tough to get. It's tough to be get the coach of the year and the MVP, because if you have the MVP, then it's like, well, the most valuable player. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I don't even know why my logic against Vrabel. I just don't think he's like that.
He's not.
Coach
He's
of
not
the
the
year-
best coach.
Coach of the year can go. I'm not saying Vrabel's not a good coach. I think he is. But coach of the year does not like always go to the best coach. It goes to kind of like whoever has the best season, all things considering. And they were the number 1 seed, and they had a ton of injuries. And the big thing about that team was that they were going to have this great receiver duo, and then they were banged up. And then the other great thing about this team is that they were going to have Derrick Henry, and he missed half the season, and they were still the 1 seed.
And their defense was supposed to be bad, and it ended up being quite good.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think like the alumni of Coach of the Year is not a really prestigious list. I know Jason Garrett has won that, and Matt Nagy won it pretty recently. I don't know, man. Like Vrabel, the Titans were the 1 seed, but everyone knew they weren't that good. Like when they got everyone knew that they were not really the best team in football. So when you look at like the actual like scariness to play or like the difficulty preparing against them, it's not. They're not.
It's just like the level of impressiveness.
It's
impressive. It's like the Sacks for Defensive Player of the Year. You can't judge the players off of like efficiency or like you have to judge off what actually happened. And what actually happened is that the Titans, who were talent-wise far from a 1 seed, made the 1 seed. And when that type of stuff happens, that type of coach is always going to get Coach of the Year. That's just how the award works. So I think to not give it to Vrabel would be to say that the award should just work completely differently. And if that's what you want to do, fair enough. But it's also hard to argue for, like, the argument against it would be, and you're not really supposed to do this because the regular season award is like, oh, they lost in their first playoff game, but then so did Matt LaFleur. Yeah. I don't disagree that I think the Packers were a better team than the Titans, but what actually happened, just it doesn't line up, I think, for LaFleur to win, especially with the MVP.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they beat, maybe I'm disrespecting the Titans too much because they beat Buffalo and Kansas City. And
yeah, they had some nice wins.
They had some nice wins. I mean, I recognize that during the season, and yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't care. I would vote probably Belichick. I think Belichick's defense, the Patriots defense this year was really high level again, one of the best in football, and getting a rookie quarterback kind of and coaching him up to the point where he had the best rookie quarterback season of all the rookie quarterbacks, despite the lack of
being the
receiving. Yeah, despite the fact that they didn't really have great wide receivers. I think that was the most impressive coaching performance this year, but I guess I'm not mad at Vrabel, I guess. I don't care. Anyway, I guess Vrabel will win.
No, I agree with you that Belichick, I thought, had the most impressive coaching performance this year. I would give it to I would vote for him. But
if I had told you about the Titans' injuries before the season, what would you have predicted the Titans' record to be?
Pretty freaking bad.
Yeah. And it's just like they probably won maybe. And that's the thing. Like, it's like, well, everyone knew that they were not as good. And it's like, maybe so, but then that's why them being the 1 seed is what makes Vrabel the Coach of the Year. And the Titans are also a good team, but just with the injuries.
I suppose. All right. Well, I think that's enough with the awards. I do kind of want to talk a little bit about the Pro Bowl.
You know what? Before we get into the Pro Bowl, there is one other award I'd like to talk about, which is America's #1 meal kit. And I think it's pretty unanimous that it should go to HelloFresh, Stay Hot's newest sponsor. You know, because with HelloFresh, you get pre-measured ingredients, mouth-watering seasonal recipes, and you get them delivered right to your door. And HelloFresh, minus a billion.
Minus a billion. There's no money to be made there. It's clear. HelloFresh.
HelloFresh clears everyone else. The grocery store, washed. Like, you get to skip the grocery store. It makes home cooking easy and fun and affordable. And that's why I said unanimous vote for America's #1 meal kit. You know, they cut out the stressful meal planning, grocery store trips, again, so you can just enjoy the cooking, get to eating, like 30 minutes or less. And it's like 30% cheaper than shopping at your grocery store, and you get to skip the checkout lines. Come on. You get quick and easy meals, 15 to 20 minute dinners, breakfast on the go, 10-minute lunches in the HelloFresh market. And, it's perfect if you have a crazy class schedule, an internship, or a new job. You can enjoy restaurant quality meals for less in the comfort of your own home with HelloFresh gourmet recipes like balsamic fig sirloin. It's 72% cheaper than like an average restaurant meal. I love, having cereal or like pizza for dinner, McDonald's, whatever. But come on, HelloFresh, it's undefeated.
Use the code HelloFresh or StayHot16 with the number 16 in there.
With the number 16. Do not spell out 16.
And you will get a nice little discount on your HelloFresh box. It's a big box. There's a lot of food
in
there.
It's a big box.
It's a big box.
Go to HelloFresh.com/StayHot16. Use code StayHot16 for 16 free meals and 3 free gifts.
I'm going to say it. I've been thinking about this. I think it's funny to get a package in the mail and it's like a tomato. I don't know, like that might be stupid, but something about like it just being like produce delivered to your door is just funny. It is.
It's funnier when you say it out loud.
My apartment manager would be mad if I said this, but the building, our south building here at Roosevelt Point, has a rat problem. So. Not in the north building. I'm in the north building, and we're good.
Dude's gonna get evicted after this episode.
Hopefully, Gilbert's not listening to this. But they're coming in. There's construction happening, and it's like opening up the sewers. So I had to race the rats to get to this box. But I think
they were after it.
I didn't see any bite marks or anything.
The boxes are really well insulated.
No, I mean it's funny because you would think there's no way someone can just ship you like a tomato and it not be ruined or bruised, but you open it up, you pull out just a perfectly fine tomato.
It's really impressive. That America's #1 meal kit should be unanimous, minus a billion odds. Let's talk about the Pro Bowl.
The silly Pro Bowl. Look, but they're on the right track with these skill competitions.
Yes.
I see potential there, but they need to up the production quality and make it a little bit more hype. I don't know. It's the other thing I was thinking, the NFL Combine. What if instead of the drills, we saw like, imagine all the quarterbacks in the draft class trying to do that competition where you tried to like hit the 4 and the 5. Like there's the different
the
accuracy things around.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
What if you had them try that and made that a whole thing? That's where I kind of see potential with some of these games. All right, if you could kind of up the production quality and up the hype on it and make it so the game's not the big thing, like the Pro Bowl game. But like really refine these little competitions. Get like Al Michaels on the call or something. I think they're on to something there, but they haven't. Right now, it's like a little fun side quest. They need to make it kind of the main course.
My big issue with the Pro Bowl game, like those mini games right now, like the catch competition, for example. I went back and watched that on YouTube, and they just give out 100s. To end like for catches that are like not that good. Like I get these are like NFL players and I don't want to be like, well, I could do better than that. Right. And I'm just saying that like some of these aren't 100s. Right. A 100 should be like think about the dunk contest. A perfect dunk is like something that you think you will never see again.
Well, you would think, but the dunk contest has the same problem with giving out.
It kind of does.
It's probably not as bad, but I mean,
it's not nearly as bad in the dunk.
Easily.
It's not. I don't think it's nearly as bad in the dunk contest because normally,
I guess I didn't watch this. So
when you see a 50 in the dunk contest, a lot of like when it's like Aaron Gordon or Zach LaVine, you're like, okay, that was probably a 50.
It's not Aaron Gordon.
But like I'm just saying, for example, like 2016. I know what you mean.
It's just a joke.
But like in the catch competition, I'm like, that was just a catch, right? Like that's something I could see in a game.
Yeah, I can see. Like they're in their beginnings. There's something there. Like a catch competition, like the catch competition on par with the dunk competition. If you could really up the creativity. I feel like there's something there that could really be interesting, or like a throw competition. Like there is interesting stuff there, but it's just so like thrown together and like not put a ton of effort in. So
give the winners comp picks in the draft.
Oh, there we go. Or the dodgeball.
I saw receiver wins the catch competition, 6th round draft comp pick.
Or like in dodgeball, I thought there was a picture of Kirk Cousins and Diggs like squaring up on each other in the dodgeball game. And it's like, okay, you got this wide receiver who kind of complained to get off the Vikings and people speculated maybe Kirk was the issue. Pitting those two against each other in dodgeball. I need Garrett and Mason Rudolph. Funny. I need everyone. I need some behind the scenes.
It's going to be tough to get Mason Rudolph in the Pro Bowl.
I had another grievance with the catch competition. That was it. What, bro, Kirk. Every time Justin Jefferson actually had some really cool catch ideas. And there were a couple where I'm like, man, if Kirk Cousins could just like not fuck this up, because he kept fucking it up and he would have probably had like much better catch attempts.
I want to see an Oklahoma drill. I want to see Oklahoma drills as a Pro Bowl competition.
It's just like, I want to just be a regular day practice conditioning.
Like illegal. Yeah. Conditioning.
No games.
Yeah, like the Senior Bowl, but just with NBA also like who can win your one-on-ones. You got all these one-on-ones happening. I want to see Derrick Henry versus Darius Leonard in an Oklahoma drill. I want to talk about all this stuff. I want to see one-on-ones like quarterback, cornerback, and wide receiver just like throw a jump ball, see who wins. This is the interesting stuff. They got it. They're there. Just like these one-on-one opportunities that
one-on-ones would be fun. If
one-on-ones would be fun. And you've got it.
I want to see Wyatt Teller. I want to see Wyatt Teller and Quentin Nelson do a one-on-one for the best guard.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. No. Or like a wipeout style obstacle. I don't know. They did some obstacle course things. Their production value is too low for these little things. They just need to up the ante a little bit. All right. They need to go all in.
I know they have the money for it.
I know they have the money for it, but they're still all in on the game, and the game is physically impossible to play, which is the problem. But if the players enjoyed the game, I'm fine with the game still happening, you know? Like, just because
it's whatever. I kind of just don't watch the parts that are not good, and I don't feel robbed of like some experience or whatever. I do think people kind of make too big a deal about the Pro Bowl not being good. It's like, yeah, what are you gonna do? It's like
people get mad at the selections. I think that's like if the selections were cool and all the players who got selected just went to the Pro Bowl without dropping off, I think people wouldn't care. But like when it's like Mac Jones there, it does lose a little bit of edge.
Yeah, you know that really is the biggest. That is the biggest case for why Mac Jones has no place in Offensive Rookie of the Year is that people don't want him in the Pro Bowl.
Right,
that's really what that comes down to.
Yeah, Jamar Chase didn't make the Pro Bowl, and Mac Jones did. So I didn't see Jamar Chase at the Pro Bowl. So. Kind of tells me that
it's not like Jamar Chase is in the Super Bowl or anything.
Not like that. Anyway,
it's not like that at all.
That is our Pro Bowl. That's my Pro Bowl take. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say.
There was another All-Star game, more or less. But it's college. It's called the Senior Bowl, and the Senior Bowl is interesting because a lot of people got really high on Malik Willis.
Josh Allen has changed the game.
Yes.
People, there is some value in being good at like I think people are maybe only seeing the potential. You know, Malik Willis is still a really raw prospect. And I get it. Like, I don't disagree. But I don't want to give a Malik Willis negative take yet. I just think that you do have to look at both, the potential and what he is currently.
Yes. Yeah. I would say, I mean, you look at the past couple of drafts and who are the quarterbacks that are mostly succeeding. It is the athletic freaks. It's the Kylers. It's the Herberts. It's the Mahomes. It's the Josh Allens. That was our whole thing about Mac Jones last year is none of us were super high on him because it's just been a while since like a pure, like cerebral, like pro ready pocket passer is been like that guy. I mean, even Burrow is probably about as close as you can get. And that guy can create in the pocket and move like almost no one else can in the whole league. but he's not some athletic freak. So he's probably the one you look to where it's like, okay, this guy didn't have like a ton of athletic prowess and he's still a really good quarterback. So it is like Malik Willis has the like talent that all the like almost all the elite quarterbacks right now have. And guys like Pickett don't. All right. So in that sense, where it's like, yes, Malik Willis does have the highest upside, and that's what betting on is. It's worked so well. So I don't blame anyone for being high on Willis, but man, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Like, I guess I didn't scout. Last year was my first year scouting really, really heavily. And I just don't know if even Willis is at the point that Josh Allen was at, or Justin Herbert was at. Like it's almost even a little bit of a discount of those things. And it's like, you get to the point where there is a point where like Tyree Jackson or Felipe Franks last year had a ton of athletic talent. I think he had a ton of athletic, a huge arm. He moves really well, a good runner, but he went undrafted obviously. And we liked him a lot last year, obviously. So there is a point where it's like the potential doesn't outweigh it, and Malik Willis is a little bit farther down that scale than some. Yeah,
that's a good way to look at it.
But it's not like that upside isn't there, and he showed
it's still crazy high. And I'm not going to blame the team for taking a shot on him, but I'm wondering how high he goes. Now, some of it's just Twitter hype.
Yes.
But he's gonna rise like crazy. I think he'll be the first quarterback off the board unless the Panthers really like Kenny Pickett, I think, which
that would be bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm prepared for it, and I haven't even really looked at Pickett that much. So maybe I'm
he's probably better than Darnold, but so I guess that's
sweet.
Better than Darnold. That's all Matt can ask for at this point.
No, look, all I'm saying is that like if teams are really that excited about his potential, and you look at the draft class, and you're like, well, we want to take a shot on a guy. You can't just like concede a season at quarterback if you're a team who doesn't have one.
Right.
How high are you willing to go to do that? Because first team that needs a quarterback is Lions at 2.
Yep.
And if it's their guy, they're not going to trade down for like they're going to take if the Lions like Malik Willis, they will take him at 2.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you like Malik Willis enough to take him over like a Kyle Hamilton or
and that's the thing. Yeah, I mean you don't have a quarterback, you need a quarterback. You have an offensive line, and you probably get a receiver later. You have another first round draft pick. If you
won't find Kyle Hamilton.
No, you won't. But you need a quarterback.
Decade.
You will get fired if you. That's the thing. Like your job, the clock is constantly ticking with your job, and you're not going to be. It's very, very hard to. The easiest way to make the playoffs is to draft a really good quarterback. That is the easiest. It may not be the easiest way to do it because there's only like a handful of quarterbacks that are capable of doing that, but it is like the shortest path to being a contender. There are other paths. There's the 49ers path. That's about the only other path. Like build it. There's, I think even the Titans a little bit really, really like power run heavy, get that freak running back and lean on him. And there's a 2015 Broncos path where it's just like the elite defense. There are other ways to do it, but the easiest way is to get a really elite quarterback. So if you think that is Willis's, if you think you can get that out of Willis, and the Lions coaching staff was one of the coaching staffs, I think it was the Lions and the Jets at the Senior Bowl. So if they worked with him and they liked him, wouldn't shock me. The Steelers are the worst kept secret at the Senior Bowl is how much the Steelers liked Malik Willis. And
yes,
I think that that's fair because Tomlin has been talking about wanting a mobile quarterback all goddamn year in his press conferences. Mm-hmm. So I promise you the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year will have a really good running ability. So I don't know where he'll go, but yeah, it'll probably be top 15 for sure.
Either Russell Wilson
there's that whole Willis. Oh, my fault.
Malik Willis. I could see Russell Wilson going to Pittsburgh.
Maybe.
There's that whole Willis Cam connection, man.
There was a Cam Fields connection too last year.
Yeah,
but I guess Cam
that's
wasn't on
true.
the Panthers last year.
Hey, Cam does not play for the Panthers currently. So
True. That's also true. They paid him a lot of money to do nothing with him.
Look, this is just my Cam Newton narrative ball, but I don't think it's unthinkable that Cam Newton goes and signs to be the bridge quarterback for Willis if he's on a team that he thinks is good enough to play for the playoffs. I don't know if he'd be willing to do that, but Willis is so far that he might be a guy you just can't play him week one. Again, I haven't watched a ton of them, so maybe that's not true, but that's what it seems to be from what I've seen. And
no, it is true. You watch some of his Louisiana Lafayette games, and it's some really mind-boggling decisions. All right, and his sack rate is so high, and his decision making is really questionable sometimes. He is not as ready as like a Mahomes was coming out of school. It's just not the same type of deal. Not that I would blame anyone for betting on that potential, but he's just not. He's just lacking in a lot of. There's some really bad film of Malik Willis this year. Some really, really bad film. But there's also some really, really good film. As for some of the other, Matt, I know that your big fantasy take is look at guys at the Senior Bowl. That's where you found the infamous Van Jefferson fantasy pick. Were you watching the wide receivers at all?
I did not get a chance to. But it's the good thing about the Senior Bowl. You can always go back and watch it.
Yeah, that was kind of my plan.
You don't really got to watch it in real time. So
Hey, I'll let you know the leading receiver in the Senior Bowl was Jake Ferguson, 3 receptions, 62 yards, and a touchdown.
Ritter was the one thrown to him. He kept going back to Jake Ferguson. Ritter had a good performance in the game.
I thought so.
Yeah.
You know what does bother me a little bit? More narrative ball. We want to take a shot on a guy who's maybe a little raw, but has the physical tools. The size, can move, has a nice arm. Where is that for Desmond Ritter? Where's that hype for him? He's exactly that type of guy. No, not to the extent that Willis is. Yes. Admittedly, he's got a nice arm. He can move really well. He's a prototypical size, and I just feel like he doesn't get the same hype. There's definitely some. If I want to take a shot on a guy who has a high ceiling, I think the upside of Ritter is there.
And Desmond Ritter has the track of showing improvement.
Yeah.
So
I think Ritter's arm is not an NFL plus. I think it's an average NFL arm. That's my only thing with his upside.
I think he has a good arm for the NFL.
I think it's fine. I don't think it's like elite. Like Malik Willis has okay.
Yeah.
Malik Willis
don't get me wrong. It's different with Willis.
Willis's arm is probably the best in this class. So
I saw that stat that Ritter had like the fastest throw or whatever. I think Ritter's arm is pretty good.
Yeah, Ritter's
I think it's maybe not. It's not Mahomes or Allen or whatever, but he has some zip.
All right, I'll have to look at his 20. That's my thing. People have asked for where's your Ritter review on TikTok, and it's because I don't have any 2021 film of him. I've just watched 2020, and I like his 2020 film. So. Yeah.
Ritter has gotten so much better. I remember me and my friends when we were freshmen, Ritter was not awesome. We were not the biggest fans at first. I'm maybe exposing myself as a Desmond Ritter hater when I swear I'm not. But he improved so much. I remember the same guy who did that for me was J.K. Dobbins for Ohio State. I thought Dobbins had a weak, maybe sophomore year. He wasn't quite what he became his final season. So I like seeing guys do that. I think he has a lot of upside.
J.K. Dobbins.
But I've already talked about Cam Newton and Desmond Ritter this episode. I got to chill.
Other guys I thought did a good job at the Senior Bowl. Zion Johnson was a guy who really stood out to me. He was winning all of his reps. There was one guy, I can't remember his name. He's from Washington State. He was an offensive lineman. I'm a big Romeo Doubs fan. He had a really nice route in one of the red zone drills that I like to see. And he has huge hands. It's like 10.5 inches. He was Carson Strong's wide receiver 1. And whenever I watched Strong, Doubs also stood out as well. And Doubs had a nice time there at the Senior Bowl. Huge hands, ran some nice routes. He's got that kind of AJ Brown, like stocky body type, and good after the catch. I love Romeo Doubs, and he's probably a wide receiver that's definitely on my radar going into kind of a more low key one. So that's kind of my Senior Bowl takeaways. Like I said, I was up north in Arizona, so my plan was kind of to rewatch it as this week.
Yeah, that's my plan too.
Yeah.
If you want if you want the dynasty take, though, the dynasty fantasy football take, receiver wise, I don't understand why Garrett Wilson isn't a lock to be a top 10 pick.
I don't understand it either. He's better than Traylon Burks by a decent amount, in my opinion.
I don't. He's ridiculous.
He's better than Olave by a decent amount, and Olave's.
Oh, it's his skill set is everything. Route running, great. He can high point the ball. I mean, he had. There was one catch that reminded me so much of a Michael Thomas catch, and I've been calling him that for a couple of years. But he's also just in one of those guys who's just ridiculous. Yeah, he after the catch
slithers like a snake. His upper half and lower half are not connected to each other. Like Michael Thomas is not like that where he's just like, oh my God, he's shifty. Like that's not really Michael. Like after the catch, he's not like gonna move laterally like Garrett Wilson can. Not that he's worse, but yeah, Garrett Wilson is ridiculously good.
I don't get it. Like, what more would he need to do? It's not. He seems like a game breaker, and I think Ohio State's biggest problem last year, well, not their biggest problem, but one of them was they didn't throw to Garrett Wilson enough. They needed to target Garrett Wilson more.
Yeah, I agree. Garrett Wilson is ridiculous. I'm a big Garrett Wilson fan, so
that's the guy I'm high on.
Yes, he was not at the Senior Bowl, but
yeah, well,
that's how I felt in their game against when they lost to Michigan. I kept thinking like they do not throw to Olave and Wilson ever, and when they do, every single time it was a big play, every single time, and they just would refuse to do it. It made no sense to me.
Michigan's game that game. Anyway, we're getting into the end here, but Matt, I know you and me do the NBA live streams every Wednesday, so we've talked a little bit more about this kind of outside of the podcast because we're kind of, wrapping up football season. But getting into some NBA stuff, I mean, how many straight weeks of Ben Simmons do we need to talk about? But
oh my God, dude.
I just want something to happen.
Please,
we've talked about it so much, but we have to talk about it again on the podcast. Harden trade rumors, Ben Simmons. We've been talking about it for about 2 weeks on these live streams. I kind of like the fit, but at the same time, it could be incredibly toxic.
It just you have Kevin Durant, who is great, MVP level player this year.
Yes.
Can't stay healthy. And you have Kyrie, his whole thing, but even without that, he has a horrible track record of staying healthy. And you're going to bring in Ben Simmons, who has, at this point, a horrible track record of being able to play in the playoffs, and then the crowds bother him and all that. It just, I get that, like, having you already have the shot creators, so trading away Harden for somebody else who helps you in other spots is great. But I just think it's really tough to just in the middle of the season. People are like, oh, we need to build around Ben Simmons. Just throw him on a team that's trying to contend for a championship. He will be able to play the dunker spot more. I think they'll be able to run him at the 5, which is what you'd want to do. And maybe that fixes a lot of it, and he can sort of, lead the defense, and then whatever happens on offense, it's like, too bad we have Kevin Durant and Kyrie. What are you going to do? But man, I just don't think it's that easy as plug them in and play.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think? Who's giving up more? Do you think in this case? I assume if you're Philly, you're having to give up a little bit more to acquire.
Yeah, so Philly's going to have to add, and I absolutely want Seth Curry. I think that would be my sticking point. Absolutely, you must get him. And any first round picks are great if you can get another trade off. Okay, that's different. That opens up a ton of possibilities. You could do something really crazy. You could, if you got first round picks, you go get like CJ. Well, I guess I don't have the money for that, but there's a lot of options first round pick wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then from Philly's perspective, I like the deal. Like, I mean, if you can get Harden and Embiid, first of all, there's going to be a million fouls per game. They're going to be like the most hated team on Twitter is Embiid and Harden when they're on prime time and drawing fouls. But you've got Harden, who kind of he was the one who had to reinvent himself in Brooklyn. Like when all of those three got there, they're like, well, someone's got to be the assists guy. Someone's going to need to get points taken off their plate. Who's it going to be? Durant, Kyrie, or Harden? And it was Harden. Harden is the one who got the career high in assists and started becoming the real playmaker there. In Philadelphia, he's going to be the number 2. All right. And we've seen him be the number 2 in Brooklyn. So I think that that's a good fit because it's something that he's shown willingness to do, and he's been good at it in that spot. And you can still you don't have to really have Embiid give up much, I don't think, and just have Harden play the type of game that suits Embiid, other than kind of wondering how it's going to work between the two of them, because we've seen Harden reinvent himself before. So I really like, even though there will be a lot of fouls, maybe it's because it's two really good players.
It's going to be great for the 76ers if they can pull it off. Yeah. Now, Harden needs to return to form a little bit.
Yes,
I don't know where we are with that, but
I think also if you're Harden and you're in a place that you enjoy playing, like we've talked about, like there was the idea that Harden wanted to play in Philly before.
Yes.
You know, if you're in a place where you want to be, you know, every time, I feel like anytime you get to put yourself in a new position, you do kind of reinvent yourself a little bit. Not just in sports, but like just anytime, you know, you're in a new environment, that's just kind of what you do. You want like a fresh start, right? So I don't know. I feel like, and Harden's a guy that I like. That's an incredibly versatile skill set. I find it really hard to believe that the Sixers aren't super successful with that.
No, and as far as if you give up, you know, Simmons, Curry, couple picks.
Yeah.
On the court, you've traded Seth Curry for James Harden. And that should make you a better team.
It should make you a better team. Yeah. And they're already the 2 seed, so it's good to be a better team.
It's not like they're bad now. And they would still, I still think that unless they're trading the house, and if you're going to go trade for Harden, you're all in. You should be moving all the picks to go all in.
Yeah.
You'd still have, I mean, you could trade Maxey, although I'd be a little nervous about that because Maxey's really good. But if an amazing offer came through, that would make you the favorite in the East now after you got Harden, and you had to give Maxey a couple first. I think about it. You got Harris to still trade.
Right.
So that team could still make moves after
I think
Harden.
I'm keeping Maxey. Harden and Embiid is not the duo I'm banking on to like win a title that I'm trading Maxey away for. I've seen, so many times trading away the young talent just seems to backfire. And like they just flourish.
And Maxey's contributing now. It's not like it would have to be like if like Dame was available.
Yeah.
If you could, I was thinking, I don't think he is, but maybe in the off season, if you had the offer of like Harris and Maxey and something else for Dame, and you could add that to Harden and Embiid, you probably got to do it.
That'd be a crazy
with his injury stuff.
Yeah, no, but I would not be like, oh, we can just, Maxey's a good trade piece is not what my mentality on him would be. He's like off limits just because the odds Embiid is healthy enough to like win a title is just not something I'm banking on. It's like, I don't want to be in a Kuzma situation or a Brandon Ingram situation or a D'Lo situation, or I'm trying to think of all the other guys. Like there have been a lot of times where it's like the star doesn't quite work out and the young piece you traded away ends up being really good and hitting their ceiling. So I just do not want that to happen with Maxey because it happens more than I think people think. But anyway, those are our thoughts on it, that it's weird. It's weird.
Ben Simmons' situation has been weird for too long.
I just want to see him play. Anything could happen.
Yeah.
Anything. He could be amazing. He could be terrible. Who knows? He could get traded somewhere and be like, I want to be there.
I'm just tired of the speculation. It's like, it's getting too much.
I think it'd be so funny if he didn't get traded at the deadline and we do this for like the rest of the season.
A whole year of just like the same thing on Simmons. It's good content. It's
another year of the same shit on Ben.
When we put in the tweet all the things we talk about in this episode and we say Ben Simmons' name, someone will click on it that wouldn't have otherwise clicked on the episode. So I guess it's good content for
clickbait
for us. But
you got clickbaited.
As far as the All-Star teams go, because we haven't mentioned that, because it came out right after our last episode. I just wanted to touch on that quickly. There cannot possibly be this many snubs.
Tyler Hero is snubbed.
Anyone who's averaging even close to 20 a game, snub. Oh, where are they? If somebody else gets in, someone else can't be in.
Right.
Yeah. So if you, it's one now. That doesn't mean it's not all valid. You know, I see a lot of Jarrett Allen over Chris Middleton takes. I can get behind that.
That was what we said. Yeah.
LaMelo. He'll be getting it as Kevin Durant's replacement, no doubt.
Of course.
But it's whatever. I think with the All-Star, I thought they did a pretty good job this year, all things considered. They're never going to get it perfect. The Middleton thing was
a reach.
Not great, but if that's the one, okay.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything insane.
It was kind of the same thing with the starters, right? We were like, okay, this is mostly fine, except for like, okay, maybe they got Wiggins wrong, but who cares? Like, if that's the one thing they get wrong, we'll live with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I'm excited to watch the Rising Stars game is like with LaMelo and Anthony Edwards are both in it, right? Mm-hmm. That's hilarious. That's the Grim Reaper, right there.
That's going to be some insane narrative ball.
Legit, two just legit NBA, already arrived all-stars playing with the up and comers is
playing with some 18-year-old G leaguers.
Right. No, it's me playing with, it'll be like me playing with my wrestling with my younger cousins where it's just too overpowered. And it's just hilarious that they're even there.
The NBA gamifies the All-Star weekend better than the NFL. It is
the dunk contest is so
it's an
big
event.
Time. The production value is big time. The catch contest in the NFL is
that's a good way.
One cameraman holding a camera, and they're just
the catch contest should be what the NBA dunk contest is.
The catch contest should be with one of those machines that shoots a ball, so it's accurate and does it the same way.
Yes,
and it should totally be that would the dunk contest. That would be sick.
Yeah, I think we'd see some really high level stuff. But yes, NBA does gamify their stuff, the 3-point contest. It's a huge deal. Who won the accuracy contest, or Mac Jones won the little thing. It could be that level. I see the vision for the NFL. It could be what the NBA games are, but it's not yet. But it will be there someday.
Matt, do you remember at an Ohio? I don't remember what game it was, or maybe I think it was a spring game. They had JT Barrett, Cardale Jones. I think I can't remember which old Ohio State quarterback they had, but they did a throw off, and it was the furthest throw, and Cardale Jones threw it 72 yards. You're telling me people don't want to see Josh Allen try and throw it the length of the field?
I want to see punt. What's
pass and kick,
dude?
A bracket.
Yo,
yes,
that would be sick. That would be
sick. But with no one who can kick, because that's OP.
Yeah,
that's not fair. Punt, pass, kick with no kick. Yeah,
there's got to be a bracket would really be good. But anyway, we're way over the time limit. A bracket. Of skills competition in the NFL with high production value would do numbers. Ben Simmons he needs to get traded, and the award
just anything, something happened with Ben Simmons, please. But I'm pretty sure that wraps things up for us. I know our producer's probably yelling at us. I haven't checked the chat in a minute. As always, tons and tons of content coming to on all platforms. We'll be back Friday to preview the Super Bowl. Don't miss out. And as always, from Corn Boy, Bird Boy, and Lemon Boy, we'll catch you hotties on the flippity flop.